I'm Kristen Mahalko, pronouns she, her. I am the Director of Operations for the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership. I'm also a board member for the California Association of Museums, and I'm the chair of the Equity Advisory Committee. I thank everyone for being here today and our panelists for joining us. This is our last Lunch and Learn of the series. And this session today is Advancing Equity, the Broad's Diversity Apprenticeship Program. Let's go to the next slide. All right, just so everyone knows, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the CAM's YouTube channel. Registrants will receive the link via email when it's uploaded. So if you can't take notes today, that's okay. We'd rather you just sit back and listen to the things that our panelists are sharing today. You don't need to take notes. Captioning is available if you need that, and the link is dropped in the chat for you. The chat is also open. We invite you to talk to the presenters. We'll be monitoring the chat if you have questions, if you want to talk to each other, really trying to be inclusive and create some dialogue here for you. You can also use the Q&A feature. The blue arrow here is pointing to that to send questions to the panelists. All questions can be commented on and upvoted by you as well. And also, if you have technical issues, please send the host a message using the chat or send an email at programs@calmuseums.org, and we will do our best to address your question. All right, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to our fantastic panelists, and I hope you enjoy the session.
Hello, everyone. Before we begin our panel, we'd like to recognize the Gabrielino and Tongva peoples. We'd like to acknowledge the land on which our work takes place as their traditional lands. As we gather here virtually today, we sit on the occupied and unceded territories of Indigenous people who have called this land home for thousands of years and who are its present and future caretakers. Thank you all so much for joining our panel today on advancing equity in museums and the Broad's Diversity Apprenticeship Program, or DAP as we like to call it. We presented this panel at CAM's conference earlier this year, and we're really excited to be back and share it with you all virtually today. My name is Zach Andrews. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I am the program coordinator for the Diversity Apprenticeship Program at the Broad and the coordinator for the Broad's DEIA initiatives. Today, we'll be talking with some of my colleagues and former colleagues from the Broad about the Diversity Apprenticeship Program. We'll talk about their experiences with DAP, including challenges, opportunities, and lessons learned, which have paved the way for more inclusive practices at the Broad and at DAP's partner organizations. We really hope this panel can provide tools and inspiration for the work you all are doing. And as mentioned before, after we're done, we'll have space for any questions you all might have. Please make use of that Q&A feature at the bottom, and we'll try to answer as many questions as time permits at the end of our panel. But first off, I'd like to let our panelists share a little bit more about themselves and their backgrounds. Koni, would you mind starting off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Koni Zhang. I use she, her pronouns. I was from the third cohort of the DAP program. We graduated in May, and now I work at Los Angeles County Museum of Art as a production coordinator with the graphic design department, coordinating decorative wall art production for exhibitions, things like title walls and labels. So yeah, it's been an interesting switch. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Shanghai, China, and came to the States for college when I was 18. I studied art history and ceramics for my BA degree. Against my traditional Chinese parents' will, you can imagine, I planned a museum career in my mind. However, I found it was really hard to penetrate as an immigrant. For a really long time, I worked in retail, entertainment productions while volunteering in museums. Last year, joining the DAP program was a pivoting moment for me. I had the opportunities to work in many amazing institutions here in LA. And also at the end of the program, I was able to have a real job now in a museum. I'm very excited to share my experience with you, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
And next, Sakinah, would you mind?
Hello. My name is Sakinah Scott. I use she, her, they, them pronouns. I am originally from New Jersey, and now I live in Los Angeles as a metal fabricator and CNC operator at Cinnabar Fabrication and Design. That never would have happened had I not applied to the DAP program on a whim, thanks to a friend sending me a flyer on Instagram. Had no idea what this program was, had no idea what it would do for my life, for my career, for my personal growth, but it changed everything. It changed my complete trajectory. And so I'm super excited to share about this experience, to talk about this program, and to just be a resource to you all.
Stacy?
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here. I'm Stacy Lieberman. I use she, her pronouns. And I've spent nearly 25 years working at mission-driven organizations, including the Getty, the Skirball, the Autry, and the Broad, in roles helping to provide welcome and access to art, culture, and education to a diverse range of visitors and students. For 5 years, through May of this year, I was deputy director at the Broad, where I also served as the project director of the DAP, working closely first with George and then with Zach. And I'm now president and CEO of the Library Foundation of Los Angeles. I started this role in June, and the Library Foundation supports and advocates for the Los Angeles Public Library and prevents innovative programming for the Los Angeles Public Library. And my experience with the DAP really helped inspire my interest in this role and working to provide tools, resources, training, and opportunities to Angelenos at a broad scale. And I look forward to this discussion today.
Thanks. And congrats on all your new positions, y'all. And finally, George.
Thank you. A lot's happened since we did our panel.
For sure, yeah. Like Zach mentioned, my name is George Luna-Peña. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm the program director for the Diversity Apprenticeship program at the Broad. I'm from East LA originally, grew up in Hazard, City Terrace, Wellington Heights. And I've been at the Broad now for 56 months, so almost 5 years. And this is my first job in a museum. This is my first job in the art world. I say it often, but if you would have told me, 5 years ago that I'd be working in an art museum in downtown LA, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have just been like, nah, that's not really my style. I never really saw myself represented in museums, especially in art museums. And so I never really considered it as sort of a career path for myself, but I'm glad to be here, to be working with amazing folks like the folks that are on the panel today, and to be doing work that I think is making some real impact and changes at museums in Los Angeles. And we hear from colleagues across the country all the time that are wanting to do similar things. So I'm hopeful that we have a greater impact, but yeah, happy to be here today.
Cool. And then I think next up, George, would you mind sharing a little bit about DAP? Just give a quick overview.
Of course, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so the Diversity Apprenticeship Program, and we thought it might make sense before we jump into a conversation to give you all some context about what the program is. But the Diversity Apprenticeship Program, or the DAP, as Zach said, we like to call it, it's an initiative by the Broad. And for those of you who've not maybe heard of the Broad, we are a free art museum in downtown LA. We have a collection of close to 2,000 works of art, contemporary art ranging from Jean-Michel Basquiat to Andy Warhol to Kara Walker and just a tons more. But the Broad is the leading organization on the program. We have funding from IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, for the program. And we also run the program in partnership with 19 other museums, galleries, art shipping companies across the city of LA. And I'll talk a little bit more about them in just a minute. But the goal of the program really is to build a workforce that is reflective of the diversity of the city of Los Angeles. We have a museum in the city of Los Angeles. LA is one of the most diverse cities in the country. And so we want to make sure that the museum is reflective of that. And part of the way that we're able to do that is by providing full-time art handling apprenticeships to folks that are underrepresented on museum staffs. And when I say underrepresented on museum staffs, I'm referring to folks who identify as Black, Indigenous, people of color, women, immigrants, folks that are part of the LGBTQ+ community, folks that have been formerly incarcerated or systems impacted, foster youth. And you know, we really feel like the DAP is kind of answering a decades-long call for more diversity in the art world. But we're also hoping that we've created a model that can be a catalyst for making shifts, more equitable shifts across the field, and a model, a sort of a workforce model that is more inclusive, that you know, we think can have some impact across the field. I'll share a little bit more about sort of what we provide. So every year we hire 8 apprentices for the cohort, and right now we're on our 4th cohort. We just started with our 4th cohort. They're still in training, but the apprenticeship is 9 months long. The first month is just training. So folks get roughly about 160 hours of technical training on kind of all the basics and foundations of best practices around art handling and preparations work. And then after that initial month of training, they go on to do hands-on work at different partner sites. And they each do about a little bit over 1,200 hours of hands-on work during the apprenticeship period. And the goal is that each apprentice is going to work at least 3 different sites, that they get a variety of experiences and really start to learn for themselves where they see themselves kind of in the art world or in this field. We also provide each apprentice with mentorship. So each apprentice is matched with a mentor. It's a one-on-one relationship. The mentors are professionals in the field, and they're there to just kind of add an extra layer of support. They get a lot of personalized support through the program, and one of the ways that we're able to do that is through that mentorship relationship. Apprentices also get career development opportunities. So what does a resume look like for an art handler? So we do resume workshops and give folks opportunities to build that skill. We do career chats with professionals in the field. We invite folks to come in and share about their experiences. We visit art and cultural institutions across the city. We visit art shipping companies across the city, just as a way for the apprentices to kind of continue to develop their careers in the field and to build their networks. And then we also provide tools and work boots for apprentices at no cost. And these are, the tools are something that the apprentices can keep forever. So if they decide, for example, to become freelancers, they've at least got a set of tools that they can use to do that work as well. And like I mentioned earlier, we're working with, at the moment, 19 partner sites across the city of LA. And it's a really diverse mix of partner sites, nonprofit galleries, government entities, large, public institutions. And, I mentioned a few here: LACMA, Hauser and Wirth, the LA County Department of Arts and Culture, California African American Museum, Crozier Fine Arts. But here's actually the full list of partners that we're working with. And again, it's a really diverse mix of partners. For the apprentices, they're really able to provide unique experiences for them as they're doing their placement sites. But it's a partnership that's one that we're really proud of, just because we brought together so many different kinds of organizations to do this work together. But again, here's the full list of program partners. And then I wanted to just kind of briefly hit a few kind of key program outcomes. So in the through 3 cohorts, the apprentices have done over 30,000 hours of hands-on work. And that also doesn't include the nearly 4,000 hours of training that the apprentices have received so far. All 24 apprentices in the first 3 cohorts have graduated the program successfully. So they've started the program and they've graduated at the end. And then so far, 23 of the 24 are either currently employed or have gotten a job in the field, freelance jobs, on-call jobs, part-time jobs, but also many of them have gotten full-time jobs at places like the Broad, the Academy Museum, LACMA, the Huntington Library. We've also had folks go out of state. We have one former apprentice right now who is at Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art, And we have another apprentice who's at the Portland Art Museum. So, there's been a lot of success with apprentices being able to find work after the apprenticeship program. And then I just wanted to share a couple of quick photos of some of the apprentices doing work, because I want to give them props. And for me personally, the best part of the work is being able to build relationships with the apprentices and support them through the process. So I just wanted to show a couple of quick photos. This is one of our apprentices that was installing a piece that was made up of pieces of the US-Mexico border wall. So they had to sort of align them in a particular way. Here's another one of our apprentices, former apprentices, who now works full-time at the Broad, closing up a crate in one of the galleries. And then here's another apprentice who had just helped install this photography show. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly show a couple of photos of them at work. They do a lot of different things while they're in the apprenticeship. Yeah, I think I'll stop there as just a brief intro and context to the program.
Thanks, George. Let's move into the questions. And my first question is actually for Sakinah and Koni. Y'all recently graduated from the Diversity Apprenticeship Program. And first, I just want to say congrats on graduating. But looking back during your 9 months in the apprenticeship, you were rotating to different work sites and placements. Can you share a bit about your experience? What have you taken away from it? And what would you want others to understand?
Cool. I'll go first, Sakinah. Cool. I have been placed at the Getty Center, Building Bridges Art Exchange, Housing Works, and LACMA. I'm very grateful for the program for two particular reasons. First of all, I finally find a role in museums that speaks both to my desire to work in the art museum and with my hands. Like before this program, I actually did some installing and unpacking in galleries without even knowing that there's such position called art handler. The programs introduced the field to me and trained me with art handling skills that most art handlers didn't have when they first started out. So that's the reason one. And the second, I get to work in my dream museums. I really like the Getty, LACMA, and a lot of other galleries and institutions that I worked at. When I was there, I got to spend time with the conservators, exhibition coordinators. So I get to explore different roles in the museum, and what is sort of like leading me to my position now. So it was just a great experience to be involved in a lot of different museums. Thank you.
So yes, my experience was a little bit unique. Again, shout out to George for bringing all of these different partner sites together. On that list, the majority of them are galleries, museums, and there is one fabrication and design company, and that is Cinnabar. And that is what I gravitated towards for some reason. It just clicked with me. And so I spent the bulk of my placement at Cinnabar. I did 6 months there, which is much longer. I was asked to be a part of a program, be a part of a project that I saw from start to finish. I did everything on that program, everything from the welding, the metalworks, the technical drafting, the installation, the packaging, all of it. My hands were all over that project from start to finish. And so that was absolutely amazing and gave me the confidence. So the two major takeaways for me was these great, amazing skills. I was exposed to mount making. I was exposed to all these very niche positions that, like Koni said, I had no idea existed within the museum world. Before moving to LA, I worked in Philadelphia for a company called Mural Arts, where I was a tour guide. You know, those were the entry positions that I had access to and felt like I had access to. And then graduating this program, I feel like I have access to so many more. Rigging, pedestal building, all of these things are jobs within the museum world that I didn't know existed until this program. And so because of that exposure, it changed where I wanted to be, what I thought was a job, what I thought I could do, to like waking up every day to my dream job. I get to build some of the coolest things. I get to be a part of some of the most interesting projects. I get to problem solve on a daily, and I get to use my 2 hands, which to me is just amazing. And then with the skills came the confidence. My view of myself changed. Another great thing that we got to partake in through this program was a shift training, which was a training that changed my viewpoint. It was based in abundance. So I didn't feel like I had to go into these predominantly white institutions and change everything on my own. No, I went into it thinking about what I would learn from these programs, what I would gain from these programs. And so making it about me, centering myself in all of this really changed how I looked at the knowledge that I was getting and how I interpreted all of that.
Thanks, y'all. So this year's CAM conference theme was shifting terrains, and in a lot of ways, DAP has helped do this by being the catalyst for rethinking practices and assumptions within the field and really creating a space for those conversations to happen amongst apprentices, between apprentices and their supervisors, between senior leadership and program staff. Can the whole panel share a bit about the ways you think that DAP has helped be a catalyst for change? I know if George, you want to start off?
Sure. Yeah, I can start. So as the program director, I'm kind of in a unique position where I have really direct exposure to all 19 of our partner sites across LA, and I've seen how their participation as partners in the program has led to some really real concrete changes at their organization. So in that way, I think the DAP has been a very literal catalyst for creating more inclusive spaces across our partnership. One partner site, for example, has created a gender neutral bathroom as a direct result of hosting an apprentice who identified as transgender and who had challenges with the host site's bathroom setup. And along similar lines, we've had a different partner site that now includes gender neutral language in their employee handbook. And that was a direct result of having hosted an apprentice. We have another partner site that's implemented a living wage policy at their organization. We've also had partner sites that have shared with me that they've changed their own approaches to hiring and recruitment because of participating in the DAP's hiring process. So there have been specific changes to questions that are asked during the interviews. There have also been attempts to implement skills tests as a way to kind of better assess a broad range of candidates for specific jobs. I've also been witness to changes that had happened at partner sites as a result of the shift anti-racism training that we have made mandatory for all partners and mentors that Sakinah was mentioning earlier. But I've seen supervisors at partner sites start to implement principles of a framework that they've learned through the shift trainings called community care into their work with apprentices. So that, that means, like Sakinah was mentioning, that means a more abundance mindset in their interactions with apprentices. That means thinking about things like mutual accountability in their work with apprentices. That means thinking about centering rest and mental health breaks and self-care in their work with apprentices. So these are changes that we're starting to see happen within the partner sites. And I'm excited to see what more will come from specifically from the learnings that they get from those trainings that we require them to do. But yeah, so those are some concrete, I think, examples of ways that I think I've seen the DAP shift things at the partner sites.
Thanks, George. Sakinah.
For me, so working at Cinnabar, metal, concrete, all that. Please forgive the noise. I'm sorry, they're doing yard work outside. But I am in a male-dominated field. In my company, I am the only Black queer woman. So although part of that is like very courageous and I take a very deep pride in it, sometimes it can be alienating. And so what I appreciated about the DAP program, and what I appreciate about a lot of things, most people think change is this like huge thing that happens. I think it starts with very small conversations. And so one time I was having a conversation with two of my colleagues, and they were laughing, and we were all joking, and I started laughing to the point where I started like choking a little bit. And my one colleague said, "Oh, don't worry, you know, such and such has CPR training, like they'll save you." And I remember looking at them and saying, "I doubt it." And my two colleagues kind of looking at me like, "Well, why would you say that? Like, you don't think such and such would save you?" Like, and you know, such and such was standing right there looking at me like, oh, like a little bit hurt. And I was just like, no, it has nothing to do with your training or anything like that. You can Google this, but you don't practice with a female CPR dummy. The majority of the CPR dummies that you practice with are males. And because of that, when a person panics, they don't apply the proper pressure to female bodies because they're not used to working with breasts. And so I said this to both my colleagues, and the both of them were shocked. And I was like, think about it. When was the last time you used a female CPR dummy? Have you even seen one? Do you even know what they look like in the CPR training? And I watched the both of them think about it, you know, and my one colleague said, well, you know what? You're right. And when we have this CPR training, I'm going to say something. I'm going to ask for a female dummy. And so, you know, I giggled to myself, not thinking anything of it. But then the next day, they had CPR training. And the next day, he came up to me and said, you know, I said something about how they don't have female CPR dummies. And so going forward now, when they do CPR trainings, they've asked to include a female dummy with the training. Just having a small conversation like that, just changing someone's perspective, just my presence being there, just to have the thought to say that, you know, these is a benefit. And so that is how small changes take an effect to turn into much larger changes.
Thanks, Sakinah. Next up, Koni.
So I have a pretty good mix of big and small commercial and nonprofit organization mix, and getting an overall taste of the art world in LA. In terms of art handling, it is still quite white male dominant field. However, I started to see a lot more diverse workforce in the museums. I'm very lucky to have a former apprentice working with me at each of the places I was placed at. I'm glad to see former apprentices playing a key role in the team. Hosting an apprentice is an entirely different thing from hiring an apprentice, which says a lot about the qualifications of the graduates from the program. In most cases, they're the only people of color or women besides me in the team. And oftentimes, they're the first ones to hand me the tools and show me the confidence, you know, on work site. It's funny to see how people just needed a little bit transition time. And as soon as they see me working, they're more comfortable to let me keep doing more. But it was always the start that's the hardest. The DAP program is already having a very good awareness among those placement sites, which provided a very good foundation for apprentices to work there. It's bigger than just 3 cohorts and 24 apprentices. The program equipped with many mentors, guest speakers for our once a month DAP program gatherings. Like, moreover, I heard there are former apprentices who moved to other cities and still be able to secure jobs, which is very encouraging. I just like to, would like to imagine like 5 to 10 years down the road, the impact will be increasing more and more, providing previous cohorts will become, the leader of the team and be the decision makers. I'm just really optimistic about the future, the program's making, the impact.
Thanks, Koni. And Stacy?
Sorry. While the DAP itself is a workforce initiative designed to change the field, it really helped change the Broad and was a catalyst for change at the museum. And one of DAP's assets is that there's grant funds specifically dedicated to evaluation from the inception. And we've worked with Kate Livingston, a seasoned evaluator. And that evaluation includes ongoing surveys with apprentices, partner sites and mentors, and they're administered throughout the program. And even after graduation, the cohorts are followed. And so from the first cohort on, we were receiving very personal, sometimes painful feedback that really led to meaningful change and actionable feedback that led to meaningful change in the DAP and at the Broad. So for example, feedback led to the addition of pairing apprentices together at partner sites when possible, for more support, and to the extensive DEI training that was mentioned for both apprentices and partner sites. And that feedback has also led to changes in policies, communication, and even how at the Broad we developed core institutional values earlier this year. I remember one apprentice noting that it's not enough for museums to open doors and make space, but that museums and the staff working there really need to do the hard work themselves of making museums a place where they feel welcome, celebrated, seen, heard, and not just that they are included, but that they feel that they belong. And at the Broad, we evolved a range of our people policies in areas from recruitment to onboarding to how the Broad honors cultural holidays. And that safe and anonymous forum for apprentices to share this ongoing feedback has not only guided action and change, but has, in the honesty and courage of the apprentices, made it essential and urgent and not something to put off for later.
Thanks, Stacy. And Stacy, to follow up on the idea that DAP has often led the way for the Broad to be a more inclusive organization, can you share from a leadership perspective an example of a time when DAP nudged you in that direction, even if at that time it felt challenging or uncomfortable?
Yes, I have a really appropriate example to share. And we had an opportunity to secure media coverage of the DAP program. And the media outlet had been interested in covering the installation of the Obama portraits at LACMA. There were several apprentices working there and a graduate of the program as well. The timing didn't work out, but we had a media crew interested in the program on a tight deadline. And working with our PR firm, we quickly shifted and we invited that crew to the Broad to interview an apprentice and several graduates of the program who work at the Broad while they were installing a new exhibition. And I was present for the interviews, and I was dismayed to hear the interviewer, who wasn't very well prepared, ask invasive questions like, I know this program is about underrepresented people, but how do you consider yourself that? And they also asked probing questions about areas of work for which they didn't have oversight. The apprentices, like curatorial and what work they would want to see on the walls instead of what was at the museum if they were in charge. The apprentice being interviewed was visibly uncomfortable and taken aback, but had been asked to participate, so continued on. And after the interview, I apologized to the apprentice for the reporter's behavior. And I approached the next Broad staff member who was about to be interviewed, and I just advised that she didn't need to answer all of the questions if she preferred not to answer. But the interview carried on, and all three of those interviewed were really uncomfortable. And when George debriefed with them after those interviews, they shared that not only did they feel unsafe, but they felt like they didn't have the agency to speak up and protect themselves. And George himself shared with me that he was disappointed that I didn't step in that moment to either redirect or halt the interview. And it was a really humbling and powerful moment, realizing that I had enabled a process that was hurtful, demeaning, and when I had the agency and power that I could have used to do something about it. So grateful for the DAP as a learning opportunity. I brainstormed with George about how I could respond and what I could do. And here's the action that I took. So first, I reached out to the PR firm and I had them share with the reporter the concerns about staff being made uncomfortable, so that hopefully that would not happen again with future interviewees. We discussed about how the short timeline had really led to cutting corners in preparing for the interview. And we laid out a series of best practices for future interviews, including better briefing the reporters, trying to secure questions in advance, meeting in advance with any interview subjects to review the anticipated questions, sharing more with any interview subjects about the interviewer and their previous stories, discussing concerns and affirming that they had the agency to not participate if it made them uncomfortable, and even getting up in the middle of an interview. The third thing is we agreed we would step in to stop a similar situation from playing out. And 4, I drafted individual notes of apology to the 3 interview subjects and just shared that, what was to be an opportunity to recognize the program and the people who are a part of it was regrettably more negative than positive. And I acknowledge where I personally had let them down. I affirmed my commitment to doing better in the future and shared the support of the museum to make changes in the process and my appreciation for them and their work. And I included the best practices that I just listed, developed in partnership with the PR firm. And I also made a point of connecting directly in person with the 3 staff who had been affected. And happily, our PR firm secured a new opportunity just a few weeks later, and we were able to implement that new process and policies for a positive outcome. Our PR firm spent a lot more time prepping the media outlet about the program, met with all of the interview subjects in advance, shared previous links and stories to the work that the reporter had done, especially reporting that demonstrated his sensitivity to issues of equity and inclusion. And we staffed the filming sessions accordingly to provide support and leadership. And the result was this piece that aired on Spectrum News, and now we will share it.
When it comes to our local arts institutions, how do conversations about diversity and inclusion translate to those working behind the scenes? I'm Christopher G. in Los Angeles. I'll tell you about one apprenticeship program that's helping underserved communities get a career foothold at some of our favorite SoCal museums. Here at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, Davidra Jackson has been learning a host of new skills, like how to cut wood to precise measurement on this industrial table saw.
It was terrifying at first because the loud noise always just kind of like...
Davidra says she isn't scared of the heavy equipment anymore, thanks to the skills she's learning in the Diversity Apprenticeship Program.
Through the program, I've been able to tackle that fear head on.
An initiative of the Broad, the DAP program was designed to prepare workers from underrepresented communities for careers in art handling and preparation. Davidra says most people don't know what goes on behind the scenes to make an exhibition come to life.
Even when I tell some people yeah, I work as an art prep, they're like, what is that?
Davidra is one of a handful of full-time paid apprentices who train at the 18 participating museums in SoCal.
Yeah, it feels very grounding. I love when I can turn on some music and just get into it.
Lance went through the apprenticeship program in 2019 and is now a full-time preparator at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. Lance says he's continually amazed at all the historic items he gets to work with.
It's so surreal just opening it up and just seeing it there, just no, it's the real thing, it's like, what?
He helped bring in Bruce the Shark here and has prepared and arranged iconic props for exhibition, like the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz.
Everybody's going to see, how it's all placed, and I was like, I did that.
Program Director George Luna-Peña says the idea for the Diversity Apprenticeship Program came from some self-reflection within the Broad staff itself.
Our head preparator recognized that the folks that she had hired to kind of install our inaugural shows were mostly white and mostly men and mostly from the Midwest. And so that was kind of the seed that planted the apprenticeship program.
George is proud of the program and this training book they created that is the basis for all the skills learned by the apprentices.
We've had institutions already mention to us that they're using the book as a training guide for their new art handlers as well. So
George counts that as a success. And for Davidra, one of her proudest moments so far has been helping to install the Obama portraits now on display at LACMA.
I know I feel deeply about being able to have handled the Obama portrait because it's a part of our history. It's going to go and be with us for however long, and all I can say is it's just amazing.
And while Davidra has only been here 3 months, with 6 more to go, she's already looking forward to her next adventures in the art world.
Awesome. I hope y'all enjoyed that clip. I actually got to see that when it aired on Spectrum, and it was just really cool to see my DAP family on TV. And I just want to give a big shout out to all the folks in the clip. They did an amazing job. So yeah, for our last question, this is going to be for the whole group, but let's start with Koni and Sakinah. What words of advice or takeaways would you want folks to leave here with today? We can start off with Koni.
Cool. I just want to say all institutions should have considered a program like this for an audience. It's really inspiring for people who have a dream and actually realize their dreams. But also be very careful, because when you start a program, I feel like there's a lot of times that you focus on training your participants, but it's also important to be reminded that the partner sides needed training too, to ensure the program is successful and both sides will be benefit from it. And also, I want to say that it's an opportunity for both sides to grow. So it's kind of like a balance between there. As long as we all have a balanced mindset towards the program, I think it will always be beneficial. Thank you.
I would say for starters, I encourage everyone to take a shift training. If you have the access to one, your company has access, take one of those trainings. It does so much in changing your perspective. Because of that training, I operate from an abundance mindset. I believe the change starts from me, then I can then create a collective, and then the collective be the catalyst for change. Working in predominantly white institutions, I understand that my presence sometimes can be a mere challenge to the status quo, to the majority white male. And so just returning back to who I am, knowing the work that I do, and understanding that, like, yes, to them it's threatening because I am more trained than 75% of my field. Yes, it's threatening, and I understand that. But at the same time, change can be scary. And so I accept that. And I also tell everyone to leave room for growth. Like, no institution is perfect. None of them are. Even this program, the DAP program, has gone through evolutions. My cohort was the first one to have the shift training. The previous cohorts didn't. But George and the board of this program were able to see that, like, okay, let's meet a need. Let's better prepare these folks for the workforce that is going to kind of meet them with a force, a wall kind of. So because of that training, I'm able to communicate with others differently, and I'm able to carry myself a little bit differently.
Thanks, Sakinah. Stacy, would you like to go next?
Yeah. The main thing I would say is just getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where the important and rewarding change occurs. And really that's what staff wants. They want meaningful change. They don't just want to call people out. They want to work together toward meaningful change. And often as leaders, you're the conduit to make that change happen. So understand that that's what's expected of you, to find ways to make lasting change, even if not immediate or all at once or in the form that was proposed. But you are part of identifying paths to that change within the parameters within you are working, and that change makes for stronger and more inclusive institutions.
And George?
I'll say, yeah, I guess if there's a takeaway that I would want folks to go home with, and I know I'll keep it short since I know we want to open it up for Q&A as well, but just kind of the importance of evaluation for a program like this. One of the things that I'm most proud of is that we sort of designed the program to be iterative, to always learn, to always try to be better. You know, I don't think it's enough for us to create a program, create some structure, and then not kind of interrogate it or make room to ask ourselves what's working and what's not. And so, you know, in the program, we make space to ask those questions and to reflect on them and to make changes as we move through each cohort based on that feedback. So it's I think important to be iterative in that sort of way, and to constantly learn and be committed to constantly being better. Yeah.
Thanks, George. And just real quickly before we move into the Q&A, I just wanted to check if anyone else had one last thing to share.
I think my biggest thing, like the DAP is only the beginning. This program trains art preps, but there can be another program like it for curators. There can be another program like it for whole other titles. Like this is only the beginning. So dare to dream a little bit bigger. You know, we can push this idea. Yes, being an art prep is amazing. I can freelance. I've freelanced for small galleries, and you know, I have been working for myself, but the framework for this can be pushed to be much larger. And so I encourage that of everybody.
Thanks so much, Sakinah. Now we wanted to open it up to any questions you all have, and it looks like we've got a couple in the Q&A already. So the first question we have is, how did you bring the partner sites together? It's such a broad group of partners. Was it more personal relationships that started building the groups of sites?
Yeah, I can answer that. You know, in the beginning, it was truthfully just more kind of personal relationships that we had. You know, we reached out to folks that we thought might be interested in participating in the program, and we started in our first cohort with just 12 partner sites. We have since added 7 additional partner sites over the last couple of years. We now have a much better, I would say, vetting process in place for partner sites that, so, you know, a potential new partner site would require us to have conversations with folks on the prep team, on the collections team, but then also with folks at more senior levels of the organization as well, just to make sure that there's buy-in across the full organization. It requires us to do a site visit to make sure it's a safe place for an apprentice to work. There's a lot of conversation that happens now. So we have a much better vetting process for that. But yeah, in the beginning, truthfully, it was just more of a personal relationships, and we approached organizations that we thought might be interested. That's how we got to that initial number of 12 partner sites.
And I'll just add to that too, we needed that commitment for the initial IMLS grant. And so that was part of that first round. And then, as George said, it evolved from there.
Thanks, y'all. And also, we just wanted to take a quick second for Cam to give a shout out to some sponsors before we jump into the next question.
Yes, I apologize. I was so excited to get the panel started that I skipped this, but we can act like it's a podcast. So I'm going to interject and also apologize for mispronouncing the Broad. You can tell I'm from San Diego and I don't make it up to LA very often. So apologies for that. And also this event is part of CAM's Lunch and Learn free webinar series, and it's exclusively sponsored by Cal Nonprofits Insurance Services. You can visit them at www.calnonprofitsinsurance.org. Thank you.
Thanks. Awesome. And yeah, it looks like we have one more question in the Q&A. It reads, I have been in awe of this program for years and dream of a world where we can replicate this in the Bay Area. Would you say that the first big hurdle to clear in building upon your model in another city or what would you say is the first big hurdle? And then funding, getting leadership on board, building a partner site group.
Yeah, I would say that, I would say it's probably a series of hurdles that you probably have to first jump through. And some of the ones that were mentioned in the question, I think are some of the ones that we initially jumped through that were really important for us. So making sure that senior leadership was on board with the idea. And in fact, our previous deputy director was the person that actually encouraged us to write a grant and try to put some more structure around it. But so making sure that there's buy-in kind of across the organization from senior leadership to folks on the prep team was really, really important. And then in terms of the structure that we put together, a program where we were going to hire 8 apprentices, have a dozen at least partner sites, like that obviously required funding. So that was a big hurdle for us to jump through. And luckily we did get funding from the Institute of Museum and Library Services for the program, and we've received the second grant from them as well to keep the program. To do a few more cohorts of the program as well. So that's obviously a big hurdle. Although I've seen, truthfully, kind of smaller versions of the DAP start to pop up at other organizations across the country that require less resources in terms of funding. And it might be just one apprentice in a specific department, or it might be 1 or 2. But I've seen other versions of the program, other versions that have been inspired by the program work really well as well also. So yeah.
Thanks, George. And that actually looks like it was our last question. I know we had some questions that got answered in the chat, but I figured I'd open it up to see if anyone had any last remarks before we conclude for the day.
I'll just mention that we did publish the Diversity Apprenticeship Program Toolbox. The link got dropped into the chat, but it's a 208-page book with resources. First of all, it's sort of a narrative of our journey and all the decisions that we made as we put the program together, and a bunch of resources too around art handling specifically, but also around different issues, different equity issues. And I just, I think it's a really good resource for folks to check out. So I would just want to plug that really quickly. And then the last thing I would say is that for anybody that's interested in learning more about the program, if anybody's considering starting their own apprenticeship at their organization, we're always happy to share our, the things that we've learned to folks across the field. So please feel free to reach out to us. I've dropped my email into the chat a couple of times, but I'll go ahead and do that again. And I know, Zach, you dropped yours as well. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, George. And yeah, I also wanted to thank our amazing panelists today, and thank you to Cam for having us back. And then we'd like to thank all of you all for joining us today. We hope you've all found this informative and have been inspired by these stories. And yeah, we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again.
All right, thank you again, everyone. And just as a reminder, the 2022 Superintendent's Award nominations are open now through September 30th. The Superintendent's Award for Excellence in Museum Education is open for submissions. This competition recognizes the outstanding achievements in California museum programs that serve K-12 students and/or educators. The competition is the joint project of the California Association of Museums and the California Department of Education. So if you know any educators or programs, please send them in. Thank you. And thanks again for being here.